nobody wants to deal with small town.
I know.
I just want faster internet. Like, I need faster. I was hoping the rent thing would be soon. There's a thing about letting parents use the mower that we have. Oh, yeah. So that they can mow the fields for us and stuff, because most of us can't. But it's a liability thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone chops off their foot. No, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, I blew up my other phone with my yeah.
You figured it out?
Yes.
That's what we're more worried about. All it takes is someone going over a rock because they don't have to lift the thing up, and then it's all torn up. And then they don't have the money to buy another one. It took years to save that. Because it's a pretty easy. Pretty much breaks even. End of every year. It's kind of boring. It is, yeah. But it makes it hard to do equipment and move, because that's not like equipment. So like yeah, part of it.
Next to the pool. How are you, John? The cave next to
Where off-season or not
one right after.
like they'll mow over here as part of their normal mowing, whereas before they cheated.
Okay, I have 6:01. This call this meeting to order. I'd like to start
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just a reminder, we are being recorded, so visually and we have a lot of stuff on the agenda tonight. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. So we have a deadline, we have to be out of here by 8, so we'll get through as much as we can. So please don't speak out and ask questions and do whatever during the meeting, okay? We do have, at least I think we do, public forum. So I did ask, because I figured it'd be things that people want to talk about. So I'm going to open it up for 10 minutes for public questions and comments, if you like. We try to keep it to 1 minute per person, and 1 person per issue would be best, okay? If you come up and take 10 minutes and you took 9 other people, 1 minute, okay? So, having said all of that, is there anyone that would like to address a question or a comment to the board? Going once. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you. Okay, first up on the agenda, we have the minutes of March 24th. Does everyone look those over?
Yep.
Okay. Comments or questions? Corrections, changes, anything? Okay, if not, I'd be happy to take a motion on that.
I'll make a motion that we accept the select board minutes from the March 24th, 2025 meeting.
Okay. There's nothing else to be said. Then all in favor?
Adams, aye.
Sewer, aye.
Randall, aye.
Kelly, aye. Okay. Oh, and I'd like to thank Mr. Vandal for covering for me at the last meeting when I was not able to attend. He's been sending me threatening letters and
They haven't gotten to you yet.
but they're coming. Okay, so the first item up is to rescind the vote to set special town meeting for May 7th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Brimfield Elementary School for I guess most people wouldn't have the occasion to know this. The purpose of that, as I read it, was to transfer $3.7 million from the stabilization fund to the building committee project. And I've been advised by the finance committee that that money does not exist in that account. And I've been advised by our town accountant, who happens to be sitting here, if there are any questions, that we cannot have such a meeting when the money doesn't exist. You can't vote it and then say, in hopes that at the town meeting we can get the funds. So upon the recommendation of our finance team, the finance committee, the town accountant, town treasurer, collector, we have been asked to cancel that meeting. Okay? So, if someone would like to make a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to rescind the vote to set special town meeting for May 7, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Brimfield Elementary School.
Second. If there are no comments or questions, all in favor?
Adams, aye.
Moira.
Randall, aye.
Kelly, aye. Thank you. Next up, the Board of Health, cleaning quotes and air quality. This has to do with the annex. And I know we've talked about this many times. We got a report from a company that came in and went through and made a lot of recommendations about what we needed to do to improve air quality in that particular building. There were quite a few items on that list. This board took a vote several meetings ago, I don't recall the date, and voted in the majority to not hire a professional company to come in and do that, that we would have our building maintenance person, Paul, come in and be doing that. I have also been asked by the health board to address these issues and things that they feel we might need to do. So at this point, I will give the floor to the health. If you want to step up, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but we'll probably do a little bit better if you do.
How's everybody tonight? Good. So I want to also let you guys know that the company, well, the state that came in, it was free for us to do an allergy, so it didn't cost us anything whatsoever for the taxpayer. I know at the last board meeting you guys had, you asked for cleaning quotes to kind of do a deep clean. All three of those companies said it was not going to be worth the money to do that in the previous department. The last report from Service Master kind of gives a good analysis of why it is. So that's basically where Chris and I went to on that, so you guys can kind of see the cost and how much that would be for the deep cleans.
Okay. Anybody had a chance to look this over?
Chris has got something.
Good.
I just want to, the companies reached out, only 2 of them provided quotes. One of the quotes did not meet the scope of work requested.
Okay.
So only Puro Clean is even viable within what was requested.
Okay. And they're going to do what?
A
As far as all the companies, we request them to deep clean all hard surfaces, windows, etc., desks, walls, bathrooms, thorough cleaning, all that.
There was also on that list covering the well that sits ironically, under your office.
Yeah, right?
And what's happening with that? What's the deal with that?
Paul, for maintenance was going in and capped it. But I don't know as a Board of Health if that would meet the requirements, because you have to have somebody who's licensed to go in and cap a well. You can't just have, anybody go in. Not that Paul isn't good at what he does, but that's beyond.
Yeah,
his-
the requirement says you're going to be
Right, so you
licensed.
wouldn't let a resident do that?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
There's one of the reasons that I recommended, I gave you guys 3 people to talk to, that kind of are environmental air quality kind of consultants. And I suggested that you talk to them, and at least have them come in and look at the building and see what they think. I think that a lot of it has to do with the air exchange in the building. There really isn't any air exchange in the building.
And that was actually one of the things that they said,
Yeah.
it's tough because come the winter or, the fall when it's cold or raining or whatever, you can't open the windows to let the air flow through, so you're sort of forced into that for 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, so I thought it might be worthwhile, and you don't, since it's engineering services, you don't have to bid it. You could just have to call them up, have them come in and get the building, offer suggestions. Maybe they can't do anything. Maybe the building can't be retrofitted or not, but I think it's worthwhile to look at getting the air to change. One of the cleaning people said it's not really worth cleaning with hard surfaces, but they did talk about making sure the dehumidifier runs well in the basement and removing the plastic. They said the plastic is actually hindering taking care of the moisture. But I think you need a professional to look at.
Okay.
And they did say the humidifier down in the basement was sufficient enough to handle the building, so it is sufficient enough.
Who said that?
All three of these companies and the company we had before that came in, and that humidifier is well larger than the size of the town.
It's larger than what it is.
What we needed, yeah, so it's extreme.
Okay.
Much better than too small.
Yeah. Chris?
Service master particularly put it in, they didn't present a quote, but he put a written, what, as a professional, his opinion on what should be done. He spoke to the dehumidifier, he was the one with the removing the plastic. And he also spoke about
The air scrubbers.
air scrubbers, and that removing the plastic would help draw moisture out from the crawl space.
Okay, good. So now that we know we have to have a professional at least do the capping of the well, who's doing that? Did we do anything? I didn't know if you folks had.
We didn't go out for bids or anything.
Okay.
Because it's up to you guys, because I know you guys have voted to have Paul do the majority of the work on the checklist for all that stuff. So if you just want to come and kind of express our opinions on it.
I think we had sent it over to them and they had said what they were capable of doing, correct? But if you're saying that you're technically not capable of tapping the well, then that's,
Yes, I agree with you 100%. If the requirement is that you have to be licensed to do that, we certainly aren't going to just have somebody who's not licensed go in. So that means we should get a vote of this board to hire somebody to come in and cap that well, so we know it's done right and by the proper standards.
And we also do something about the air quality. I know staff is still coming to me with issues regarding it, so.
Okay, and when you say the air quality,
Ventilation, circulating the air, because that's another one that's been.
okay, so that would actually be something that you have to probably purchase to go in there and somehow move that air. I don't know how you would do it. Even the company that gave us the information on it said, you know, you're pretty much stuck with that because you don't have, like, central air or, you know.
Right, I mean, it could be two things. It could be infrastructure changes, to actually create ducts and so forth to handle the air. Or you could also buy portable air scrubbers. They have such, like little dehumidifiers and stuff. You can clean and scrub the air. And I mean, it's not the Board of Health that they would know this stuff. That's why we suggested hiring somebody who does know this stuff, so that you're not throwing money against it, or maybe it's.
Okay, so we've got air scrubbers and well capping that we need to address, is that correct?
Yeah, something to move the air around, to exchange the air better, and we obviously need to cap the well. Was it capped by Paul, or?
My understanding, my conversations with Zach, that it was addressed. Now, when him and I talked, because I asked him about needing someone certified to, and to talk to the Board of Health if he needed to. He didn't think we needed to. I don't know if he looked into it or not, but it is done. And I think that's what I'm trying to wrap my brain around with some of this, because we spent a lot of money, or if I remember right, back in September, October, when we had this problem. We had this company came in, right? We did the mold remediation. They did a ton of work, came back, I think within a few weeks. We had, the air quality, we had a test done, we started mold, they came back, we did all that. We have the state report. And I know part of that mold remediation, departments bought air scrubbers. We can go through and look at purchases, but I know some were bought. That whole list that we went over as a board, it was 99% of it was pretty much, remove tree, add a gutter spout, change the air scrubber like filters, dehumidifier filters. They have to be, the dehumidifier now has to be checked on a daily basis. There's a whole list of stuff that really anybody can do. Like well capping was one I wasn't sure. I think the board itself wasn't sure. We could look back in our minutes, but I think we talked about that. So I'm not quite sure, I know Paul, I mean, I'm just off the top of my head, a good removing of the carpet, you know, the state says carpeting, right, over 10 years has to be removed, all the carpeting was removed. He did some plumbing repairs upstairs in the second floor, in the bathroom, the kitchen. I don't know if they, because I think it was the traps and stuff were dry, things like that were addressed. And I think they've been removing insulation downstairs, and was on that list. And because of all that work, like removing the carpet and re-insulation and stuff, that's what we were talking about as a board, to make our employees feel a bit more comfortable about, you know, the quality air and stuff that's there, was the deep cleaning. You know, that's why the board suggested that we get quotes that have, you know, from all the work that's been done there over the last several months, to, you know, do a cleaning through the buildings, demonstrating, like you mentioned, like these 2 quotes about, you know, window sills and door jambs and light fixtures and all that stuff. Because I think that will help, it'll make them feel better, you know what I'm saying, if we can clean up the building
All
itself.
the cleaning companies that came in said that our building is clean. In fact, it's one of the cleanest buildings. They've been asked for quotes, and each one of the companies have said that.
Yeah,
It's
and-
the same issue that we had with the CARES Act. It was during COVID, it was the same thing. We need to be moving that air.
Right.
So now we're back in the situation again, because during the CARES Act, we didn't do anything, we didn't get the air scrubber during our CARES Act. So here we are again, same issue.
Right, we need air scrubbers, like every department bought, I mean, there are air scrubbers that were ordered after.
Air
that.
purifiers.
Yeah, what's the difference between a purifier and a scrubber?
I mean, you should be looking at.
You know, right?
It's not a scrubber.
Okay.
That's why we're saying we need a professional, that's not what we do.
Let me make this
Air quality
suggestion.
is not what we do.
Yeah, let me make a suggestion. I think we all agree that there's a lot of things that we need to, you know, correcting in that building. I know Paul's doing a good job, you know, getting that as much of that as he can. When it comes to capping the well, we're now that we understand that you have a licensed person come in and do that, that's something we have to address. And Paul certainly can address, you know, buying air scrubbers and that. That's something we'll have to do. So I think at this point, the best way to go would be to get a motion from the board to take care of those 2 items. And if something else pops up later, we can address it when we need to. But right now, those are the 2 most immediate needs as I'm hearing this. Okay? All right. If somebody wants to make a motion for that, we can move that.
Are you moving forward to,
Thank you very much. Yep.
Jeff,
Yep.
we have to get a quote for that?
Yep, we have to move the air well.
I thought you said you didn't have.
Well, he says a quote.
We have to get it.
Okay,
We can
okay.
end up probably just hiring someone to hold it, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
All right, I'll make a motion that we get a quote, to cap the well and for air scrubbers with HEPA-rated filters.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I think we should add in there that whoever we do hire, that Paul should be involved in the process.
Absolutely,
Because I think there's some disconnect.
agreed.
That's just.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. So I hear nothing else, so all in favor?
Adam's aye.
So do I.
Or,
Mandel,
Kelly, aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Somewhere I saw Steve Rich here, but I can't see you behind,
I'm hiding.
Come on, if you don't mind, come on, okay, we got 2 items we need to speak about. Oh, boy. Have a seat. How you doing? Good. So the first item up is the elementary school well boost pump quote. And I'm guessing this is the Gustavo Freston Company?
Yes, so that pertains to the well, which is just on the other side of this parking lot. That serves this building, the public safety complex, and the highway building. The screen on that is, it's called an HMI. It's a human interface screen that just gives like readout on what the well is doing, some rudimentary controls. The water operators, McClure, noticed that the screen was freezing at random intervals. So they would go down there to pull information off it, it wouldn't respond to the touch. Their solution has been to power the system down, which causes a potential break in water supply, but for like 2 minutes or less. On top of that, there's still pressure in the tank, so nobody would notice that it's turned off for that very brief period of time. And they're there as professionals to turn it back on and check everything out. Going back down there previously, as part of the process to integrate that system into this building automation system. So now we can actually trend the water usage and get alerts on it, which has been an issue in the past, without going down into that well. I noticed it was frozen as well.
Okay.
So my fix was to pull, there's like a power wire out of the back of it, put it back in just for a quick fix, but that's obviously not a suitable long-term solution. So that quote from Gustavo Preston is for them to go down there and diagnose the issue. I don't know, I think it's made relatively clear in that quote that that doesn't include potential hardware or fix time. I believe that's just them diagnosing. I'm not a professional with the well equipment, but to me it seems like it's just a faulty HMI screen and that we could potentially just source one and replace it.
Okay.
Maybe with the Tantasco Electrical Department's help. So, whether or not we need to spend that money just on diagnostics, the HMI screen, I found them out there online for around $1,000 to $2,000. As special hardware.
So would your recommendation be to hold off on this for the time being? If you want to take a look at that?
I would hold off on it because I think that I'm relatively confident that putting a new HMI screen in there would solve the problem. Because when the screen freezes, I can still log into our interface and check remotely and see that the well is still trending. So the computer, the brain behind that screen is still working. It's just the screen is freezing. So I don't know if we need to spend all that money just to tell us something that I already relatively know.
All right, how about if we do it this way? If you want to take a look at that and see where we really need to be with this, as soon as we have an answer on that, we can put that back on the agenda and get it addressed. Depending on the amount of money, honestly, it's something I would like to see, maybe even as an article for the money, because I know the finance people are struggling to make ends meet right now, so I'm not sure where we would take that from, So, if you're good with that, and if you're not, this is the time to say so. If you're good to hold off until you get that, I think this board would be okay with that, right?
I think we can continue to troubleshoot it in-house. If we run into trouble or we hit a brick wall, I can let the board know.
Great, fair enough.
Because maybe, I don't know what the warranty is on it, because that's got to be about 3 years now.
Yeah, I think I want to say it was 2019 that Skip was put in. So I think at this point it's out of
Kind of
warranty.
warranty.
Yeah. In fact, I did go down that rabbit hole. I need to pull up the emails and double check, but I'm 99% sure if my memory serves me correct. It's no longer under warranty.
Okay, we'll do it that way then.
Great.
All right, thank you. Now, moving on to your second item,
Yes.
a little bit price here.
Yes.
We have an issue with the roof on this particular building, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, so why don't you give us the short version of where we need to be with this?
So I assume you've all seen the report? Okay. So that report came from a grant that Tantasco had solicited, so it didn't cost the town or the school anything. And they came and they moved the ballast in, a grid-like format, and they scanned the roof with like a radio infrared to see the moisture and how wet the insulation is underneath and give them an idea of how compromised the roofing structure, the roofing system is. What they found here wasn't great. I guess given the age of the roof, it's to be expected because this roof, as far as we can tell, going back and looking at notes and stuff from my predecessors, is 90s vintage, which is about the expected lifespan of these roofs.
I hate to say it, I remember I was there.
Right?
So yeah,
So
that was
90s?
a long time ago.
Yeah. So they last about 20 to 30, 35 years, depending on the product and the warranty you get on it, how thick they build it up. So we're at the lifespan of this roof, basically. And this is an issue that we're running into in our other schools as well. Brimfield, Wales, all the buildings were kind of redone around the 90s when big additions were put on. That's when the roofs got redone. The warranties have all or will all be expiring, and they're all in very similar circumstances.
The numbers that I have heard thrown around
Yep.
range somewhere between 2 million and 2.8 million. Are we really looking at that kind of an expense to do this?
I believe so. So they say a rough budgetary number is like $25 per square foot for roof repair. But this roof isn't a great candidate for that repair because of how compromised the insulation is underneath and the amount of ballast that they have on the roof, because the cost of labor to move the ballast to then resurface the roof, put it back, and replace wet insulation, it adds up very quickly at prevailing wage, it's not worth it. For a roof replacement on this kind of roof, they say it's closer to $50. That's on the high end, that's a budgetary high end. I think that when you take the square footage of this roof, which is about 50,000, there's a full breakdown in this packet somewhere that gets pretty minute the details for each roof section. You do the math, that tracks what they had here at Scrumco. They are also a roofing system. They don't install their product, they hire contractors to install their products. They provide the roofing system for other things. So I think that their numbers are probably pretty accurate. And they say 2.8, really 2.9 to 3.2. On top of that is also the engineering costs, which on top of that. So the engineering costs, I think I've heard generally go about 10% of construction costs. So you would want to add that in as well. And then the whole solicitation process to get an engineer to even start it, get a very accurate price, because the engineers are the ones who go and build like design specs and do like a price estimation. So we're kind of working on budgetary, I would call this a budgetary quote. It's not specific to the very circumstance of this building, because things such as relocating mechanical apparatuses, plumbing, electrical fixtures on the roof, potential building structure renovations that have to happen to facilitate the new roof because its energy code has changed, so has the amount of insulation and the buildup that the roof needs in the pitch. So there's a lot of variables that we won't know until we engage in.
Until you get into it, yeah. I want to direct a question to Marie, who was our town accountant. Is this something that we, in your opinion, should be doing as an article for June? To put this money there? The reason I'm asking the question is, you know, even if we wanted to do it today with the money that we have, if we don't have enough to do that. You know?
I mean, this clearly would be something you would go out to borrow,
Oh, yeah.
so.
Yeah, so I'm kind of inclined personally, obviously we haven't said it as a board yet, but I'm inclined personally to say, I'd like to see this as an article and let the town floor say, yeah. I mean, I don't think we really have a choice, to be honest with you, but it would, that's a tough pill for that kind of money. And I'd like to have everybody's input to say, you know, we understand this is what's going to need to be done. So.
I agree. My primary reason in coming today was just to bring this before the board and before the town, and that way we can start a dialogue and start moving in the right direction. I don't think that this is like the building's on fire. Yeah, so the reason they said that, to the best of their knowledge when they did the survey, that we're not seeing more leaks in the roof or in the ceiling is because they believe there's a second layer of roofing material, so it creates like a water. So the top layer may be compromised from the sun and then, you know, hail and whatever. There's a layer underneath that that's capturing that water, and it's taking it longer to find a way to the building. As part of this, we've also been spending money within the school district, or within the school department, to maintain the roof year over year. As we find problems, we put money into it just to, you know, get us through. And it seems like the repairs that are being done are holding up relatively well. I don't think that this is something that we need to jump on immediately, but I think that we should begin discussing it immediately and come up with a plan for the near future. So we can at least be working on it.
So with, once we got that report, you know, I did a little research, and I noticed there is some funding available from the state level for projects like
MSBA.
There you go, MSBA. I went on the website, and there's a whole section about, not expedient, how does it extend it?
Yeah, the roof repair, accelerated.
Yeah, I said, roof repairs, windows and doors. And I was looking at 2024, and it lists all the towns and the projects. And you're right, and there's a whole PowerPoint presentation that explains that whole process, right? So you have to have a project manager, what's it, 1.5 million or something, so there's costs there. Right, so how does, I'm assuming, I didn't do a lot of reading because I think tonight you're coming. I'm assuming are we looking into that? Like, how does that work?
Well, if that's, I think we definitely should look into it. From what we've done on the school side, I think we've done a lot of preliminary investigation, you know, as we do other roofs and we're more mature in other roofing projects in the district. We would bring that, you know, that information and that viewpoint back to projects that we're now working on or we're beginning to work on, like Brimfield. I think that given the fact that the roof isn't visibly like causing daily operational problems to us, that we could take the time, because that MSBA process can take, I think I heard 2 years.
Right, I read a little bit about that. I didn't reach out to anybody. Again, that's your ballgame. I just wanted to kind of get, because if there's funds that we can capture from the state, if that's doable,
Yes.
that's what we need to do here. I feel, as you know, good stewards of our resources. So,
Yeah, and I think that if that's the way the town wants to go, that we would definitely, you know, be happy to look in that direction, investigate that as an option.
Okay, so I guess that's something that we'll have to look at, maybe talking with Marie, sit down and see what she thinks is the best way to approach it.
Okay.
Shuffling the money around the correct way, you know. All right. Anybody have any other questions?
can you? Is it possible for you to send us information on the the Massachusetts? That's what it is, Massachusetts. School buildings, right? Administration, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you can send us some info on that, because that's, I tried to understand a lot of it. There was a lot to go through. It's not, right, you're right, that's a good term, it's very dense. And so we could use some guidance there, because it is substantially, there's quite a bit of funds that could come our way on this project. So it's really.
And in your opinion, we have time for that?
I believe in this instance we do. Like I said, we're not experiencing any operational shortcomings. So I think that it's something that I would like to explore.
Yeah.
Good, because I want to work with the financial people, make sure that they know what's coming on this.
Okay.
You know what I mean, so that everybody has it. Great,
Great.
well, I
Thank you very
appreciate you
much.
coming in to talk to us, and we'll be talking to you a lot through the process.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
okay, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, next up, several, I don't know, a couple of months ago maybe, Mr. Soto had requested to have a meeting to discuss issues with the building inspector / zoning officer. This board did not vote in its entirety to have that meeting, nor did we decide that we were going to start doing performance reviews on department heads and so forth at this stage of the game. But we felt that his issue was important enough that, you know, to justify having this discussion. The building inspector / zoning officer was given the opportunity to do that in executive session, which is his right. It is also his right to do it in public if he decides to do so. And in this case, I have been requested to hold this as a public meeting. So I'm going to now announce that, and I'm going to turn the floor to Mr. Soto to have questions for us.
I'd like to table this. I'm not prepared to, this is a surprise to me, so I respectfully thank you for coming in tonight, but I'd like to table this till further, till I get some more evidence and more things. So I make a motion that we table it. Thank you.
I second that. And no offense, and if this is, so in the past, when we've done executive sessions, it's been posted that way on the agenda, and it's been posted exactly what it is, and if it's, you know, in person or in public, and then that employee can request either or. That's not posted that way, and then I think it's misleading, and it's not fair to the board members or the employee.
Okay, well, I disagree with that take on it, only because, yes, it's on there, and when they come in, they have the option to do executive session in public. In this case, there was enough sufficient advance notification of this that he had this choice. It doesn't make any difference. That conversation is over now. We know exactly where we are. You just had your hand up. Is there something you'd like to?
Well, I was going to say that it was asked for, requested months ago.
And did you send it, I'm sorry, sir, did you send an email stating that you wanted it in open session?
I did, yes. That was like a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months.
So, if I may, the last email received from you about the executive session that I saw was that you were get back to us with the date that you and your attorney can attend. I haven't seen anything since then. I haven't seen anything since, and why I'm bringing this up, because a month on, I want to say the beginning of March, because this is in February. Come March, I hadn't heard anything from Mr. So's request, so, and since your email. So I sent a request in March looking for an update on that to the board, not to you, okay? I sent it to our assistants for the chair to address. Haven't heard anything in response. I don't have a single email. Now, my emails, by the way, went to all the board members have what I sent, so this is just this chair. So all the board members know what I requested. Just a week and a half ago, I sent another email requesting an update on where we're at with an executive session. There is nothing on this agenda that says executive session. Okay?
It was requested in the original.
I know what you're saying, I understand that. I got no response to my last email from the chair or anyone from the board, from Chris, forwarding it on from you. Okay? And again, if I'd gotten that, I think ultimately, it's the agenda. If you respond, if I had gotten a response, or you responded to that email that may have been forwarded to you, I don't know if you got it or not, because I'm not communicating directly to you, and it goes through the board to you. So that's what I'm saying, coming back, if we had notification, at least for myself, then this should have said executive session on the agenda, that's all.
That is Mr. Adams' take on it. As the chair, I'm telling you, because this was months in the making, the initial request was executive session. When you were given that, you said, don't want executive session. I have nothing, I've got nothing to hide, I want to have it. Transparency, that's the big thing, right? So, all right.
That's why I'm
It
asking
doesn't make a big difference.
Right.
You've got a motion to delay this, so you got a motion and a second. If there are no other comments on this, Chris?
I just wanted to say that George's last request was ignored. I brought it to the chair, and that was what put it on the agenda.
No, and again, I'm not saying, I don't mean to imply that anything was ignored, I haven't seen anything back. And that's the only reason why I'm asking for the board to.
That was my fault for not responding once it was on the agenda.
It's okay. All right.
Yeah,
that's the argument that Mr. Adams has for this. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of? Before we
discussion?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I guess I'm confused as to why we would delay this. But this is something that emails have gone back and forth. There's talk in the town. I think I think this needs to be addressed, and we keep kicking it down the road. Let's just discuss it.
I agree, and I agree with you on that. I don't want to kick the can down the road either. But the point is, in the executive, right?
You've got a motion to delay this, so you got a motion and a second. If there are no other comments on this, Chris?
I just wanted to say that George's last request was ignored. I brought it to the chair, and that was what put it on the agenda.
No, and again, I'm not saying, I don't mean to imply that anything was ignored. I haven't seen anything back. And that's the only reason why I'm asking for the board to.
That was my fault for not responding once it was on the agenda.
It's okay. All right.
Yeah,
that's the argument that Mr. Adams has for this. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of?
Before we discussion?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I guess I'm confused as to why we would delay this. But this is something that emails have gone back and forth. There's talk in the town. I think I think this needs to be addressed, and we keep kicking it down the road. Let's just discuss it.
I agree, and I agree with you on that. I don't want to kick the can down the road either. But the point is, in the executive session, I'm not prepared to ask the questions that I need to ask of this employee because I was unaware that this is what this was. Okay, and again, we're not receiving any communication back. And I think all the board members, any issues we've had since the initial request for an executive session, which I think was the end of January. So I agree with this. This can has been just delayed all along, and it shouldn't have been. So if we can table it to the next meeting, I think that's fair to the employee. I think it's fair for us, at least for myself, so I can, because I'm not prepared for that. That's not what's on this
George,
agenda.
you keep saying you're prepared, but this letter says sincerely Anthony Soto.
This letter, no, no, go ahead, Anthony, speak.
Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said?
I don't know. Can
I
you
had
hear
said, I am not prepared, and I respectfully thank you for your time. I'm not prepared this evening to move this forward.
Can I have?
And I respectfully, my peers, if there's some things to be tabled, and I'm asking respectfully for my peers to respect that. I'm not prepared.
If that's what the board wants to do, that's fine, because we'll vote on it, and if the board votes to delay it, we'll delay it a week, and that's fine. I just have to say that, this has been around for at least 2 months now, so I don't understand. And I personally would have thought that if you are requesting to talk to somebody, that you have reasons for that documentation, so I don't understand why we're not ready to go. But, okay, we have said all of that, so let's do this. All in favor of delaying this a week? Oh, I'm sorry, you did, I beg your pardon. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out what's changed since the original request. Because nothing has changed since the original request. We're still in violation of both zoning and building codes, plural. So nothing has changed. I just don't understand why he thinks he needs more time to prepare when he should have been prepared when he first asked for review. That's my take on it. And continue to kick this down the road. People are watching this, and they want to see that things are done correctly, and they're not, because I am not the type of inspector that wants to hammer people with fees and fines. So, but you get to the point where I have to do that now in order to hold up the integrity of the office in the town. So that's my take.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. We're ready to go to a vote? Okay, we have a motion to delay it a week. You didn't say that, but I presume a week is what you're looking for?
The next board meeting.
Next board meeting, fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I meant to say the next meeting, yeah. Okay, so all in favor of pushing this off to the next meeting?
Adam's aye.
So do I.
Or no?
Randall, no.
Okay, we're going to talk about this, because I'm voting no.
All right, so I've been advised by council not to be present while this is being spoken about. So thank you.
Why don't we do that?
So, if, just for the record, since we're all watching what's going on here, if this is clearly an executive session, is what you're stating,
No, I'm not.
then when is the executive session going to happen?
It's not.
You
It
wait.
has not to happen.
An executive session in the past has been either in private or public. If you're requesting it to be in public, it's still an executive session. It's still, he waives his right, I guess.
He waives his right to
Waives
an
his right.
executive session where it's behind closed doors.
Behind closed doors, so it's in public, which is fine.
He did that 2 months
Okay.
ago.
This is fine. So, again, so all the board members understand, not a single one of us received any information about this. That's what I'm saying. And I know you are voting Carrie, but I want the residents to understand something. When we had an executive session for the building commissioner, was it 2 years ago? Right, year and a half ago? 2 years ago. At that executive session, Martin Kelly accused himself from that session because of his relationship, with the field owner and stuff. He did not sit in that executive session. You left the room.
I did.
Okay? Mr. Vandal, okay, in his business relationships, has to work with Mr. Cantel. And Mr. Cantel is an inspector for other communities, and there's a conflict of interest there. So Mr. Vandal should not be voting on this issue.
Nor should Mr. Soto.
And nor should, right. Now, the issue is, correct, Mr. Soto has some issues, which has a personal nature, which is not what all this is about, okay? And my point is, if we were to do this the right way, the only two that should be discussing it would be you and I.
I disagree with you. I don't think you should be voting on it either.
And why would that be?
Wasn't there something, a file, Cantel filed with the Board of Registers?
Right.
So that was a complaint.
that's his choice. That has nothing to do with this.
I disagree.
Okay, and again, but, yeah. So in other words, when an employee files, we request an executive session back in January. And then because that employee decides 4 or 5 months later to file a bogus, issue about Ryan residency with the Board of Registrars, which is fine, and we can get into that next. At the end of the day, right, they should have no bearing on this executive session. I personally have no grudges against the building. That's his right. I've done nothing wrong. I have a ruling, and we'll talk about that in a minute. At the end of the day, okay, so that's the problem here, is that, just for the record, in the last executive session, we've had our chair recused himself from that decision. He did not do this here because of this relationship. Okay? And hear me out, because the problem I have with this whole process is that when we asked for an executive session, there were all kinds of meetings going within the first week at the town hall between you and Mr. Cantel, which is totally inappropriate. At the end of the day, I feel that this should have been handled sooner than later, but that last email, and the only email we ever received, was that we're waiting for a date and a time that Mr. Cantel and his attorney could be here. And that's what I've been asking the last 2 emails. That's all in the last couple of months. And again, there's nothing here about executive session. It just says to speak to the building inspector, the zoning officer, Mr. Soto, and that's not...
This was actually Mr. Soto's second letter.
Yeah,
right. I know.
Let me do this for a second. Hold on, okay? Because this is really going off the rails at this point, okay? Most important point here is this board did not vote to bring you in here to have a discussion with you, okay? Mr. Soto did. In deference to his request to have you come in so that he could ask you about these issues, we put this on the agenda. Any information that should have been distributed to other members of this board would not have come from the Board of Selectmen. It would have come from Mr. Soto. And from the first day that Mr. Soto, Mr. Adams, and others have come onto this board, I've told them the exact same thing. If you want something on the agenda, I'll be happy to put it on for you. But I'm not just putting it on without having all of the relative information in hand, because it's not fair to the other board members to come in here and hear about all of this stuff for the first time at one of these meetings, okay? So the responsibility of handing out that kind of information was not from the board that did not vote to bring you in here, but rather from a member who wrote. So the proper procedure would be to say, all right, I would like to have a session, one way or the other, executive session, open, whatever it is that you decide you want to do, which is another reason that I don't agree with your take on the executive session, because it's not a board decision. It was one member's decision for something they wanted to do. I try to give all members of this board, if they have an issue, if they have something they want to address, the right to come in and do that. I only ask that they give the proper and the complete information on the subject to all the other members so that we're ready to go. This did not happen. It didn't belong, it wasn't the responsibility of me, or Paul, or Crystal, or Chris, or anybody else, okay? It was the responsibility of the person who said, I want this on the agenda, okay? He has now left the room. He was the one that had asked for this. So at this stage of the game, there's nothing left to do. So I am moving on from this issue. It's been addressed enough. He has requested that it goes on for the next 2 weeks if the board wants to do that. I don't normally require or need a vote of somebody else to, set the agenda, but in fairness and because of the passion of this situation, I'm going to give the courtesy to my fellow members of this board and ask them if they would like to put it on in 2 weeks when we meet next. Any thoughts on it? It doesn't have to be a motion because the decision is mine to put it on, so.
I got a question for Bill. Are you okay with that, Bill? Because I think this needs to be addressed.
I agree.
Because
I'm here ready to address it.
everybody in town's talking about this.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's not fair, so I want to get through it so I know with the town residents that they can now build a building with no permits.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do it, and then we won't need you.
I agree.
And I don't disagree with that,
I'm not too
okay?
sure the state would agree with that.
No,
No, I
and
agree.
I don't disagree with what he's saying, okay? We can't do it now because the person who was asked to talk to you has left, okay? So there's nothing for us to talk to you about. if this board wants to, the next opportunity to do that, and I agree that it has to be addressed. It can't be addressed now.
No, I understand
So
that, I
it has
just
to be.
wanted,
Yeah, no, and it was an
that was
excellent.
available in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But
And-
honestly, Mr. Soto wasn't going to speak about this in 2 weeks either, because I think it would behoove him.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's do this. We don't need to make a decision right now. I'll make that decision when I set the agenda for the next meeting. And if, I can't deliberate this with other members of the board, so if somebody has something they'd like to say about it, they can send an email to the general mailbox. I will consider all thoughts and ideas on it before I set the agenda. Is that fair with everybody?
Fair enough.
I'm kind of confused here. So the person that is called from the executive session cannot attend the executive session. So who will be in charge of the complaints that are in that executive session?
That's why we're not committing to putting it on the next meeting.
So, I mean, to me, this is a waste of time. And to put it down to 2 more weeks is another 2 more weeks of waste of time. So I don't understand the process here.
My suggestion to you would be very simple. This didn't occur.
Yeah.
So you just go forward and do your job, and it's not your concern.
When Anthony said when he left, he can't be here to talk about without his attorney.
Then why would he call an executive session that he can't attend?
He needs his attorney here, and he didn't know that's what this is.
I'm not sure his attorney can speak for him, Ken.
He hasn't, all I know is he left, he says, I can't discuss stuff here without my attorney. So that's what he's saying, so, my understanding. So that, in an executive session, that's because this case involves him. That's all he said, that's all I know, we don't talk about it, so.
Would it be fair to, if Mr. Cantel had anything that he wanted to say on this matter? I mean, he came in.
Absolutely.
I think he should, do you have anything you want to say on
Well,
this?
I have plenty to say. It would take hours to discuss it all.
Yeah.
It's been going on for 2 years or more.
And I would
He's got
also-
3 different properties he's in violation of, all right? So to keep it all together is very difficult. I have it all straight, if you guys would like, I can give you a copy. I think I
And
already
that's, I
provided.
think it's important in fairness, because there's 2 sides to every story. So that's why if we can, let's shoot like you suggested, make it fair, just send our request, or any board member for the next meeting. If Anthony wants to send in a request, have his counsel here, and then discuss all of what those issues are. Because there's been a lot of resolution to a lot of stuff, in my understanding.
All right, here's what we're gonna
And
do.
again, it's not fair to discuss it.
You know what, we can,
Where are you coming up with that?
It's not fair to talk about this issue without the other party.
Okay.
all right,
That's what I'm-
let's do this, okay,
But
look.
he can't be here.
I just said you can't.
All right,
with
listen,
his
we can
attorney.
go back and forth all
Yeah,
night long
that's
about
right.
this, okay? And we have too much stuff to do tonight. So here's what I'm gonna suggest. Why doesn't the board take a vote that we would like to speak to Mr. Cantel about issues, and then when he comes in 2 weeks, he can get up and he can make every single point he wants to make. We can make any kind of, ask whatever questions, suggestions, whatever that we have here, and that way it's not just dependent on him.
Not dependent, I'm sorry. Not
If
dependent
it's
on
only dependent on
Mr.
Mr.
Soto's
Soto,
request.
yeah,
Right.
if it's only dependent on him,
So this.
then this will never happen because,
Can I make one request?
Yeah.
That I have some kind of detail of what this complaint is about, because I've been given nothing. All I've been saying is
Yes,
it's
you may.
unprofessional.
Fair enough.
That's it. So I want complete details so that I can prepare.
Yes.
My assumption was it had to do with his personal business. I don't know if that's true or not, because I have not been given any.
I understand completely. And that's a valid request, and I will see what that happens.
And to go farther, if he or anybody in this board has any written complaints on my actions, I would like them present at that meeting, please.
So here's what we'll do. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to make one other comment, because I'm going to respond to this allegation that I somehow had inappropriate meetings with you about this. Mr. Cantel is an employee of the town of Brimfield. This is the executive board. I am the chair of that board, which means that the day-to-day operations are overseen by me. When he was notified of this, he came and was looking at all kinds of things to do with zoning, to do with, his position, everything, okay? I have a duty and a responsibility, as I would for anybody who works for this town, to give them whatever information and help that they need. The alternative would be to say what? He comes and asks for information and help and questions and so forth, and I say, no, you're on your own, go get it yourself. Then what have we done? Now we've said, okay, the board is closing ranks and supporting something that I think is unfair. So to suggest that because I spent a lot of time going over some of this paperwork with you, that something inappropriate happened, I'd like to think that I'm smarter than to do it in my own office in the middle of the day when everybody else is working in the building, okay? So that's where we are, right? End of that, we're not taking questions from
I'll
the
admit, I asked him for what paperwork he had, so I did the same thing you did. That's what I
If somebody comes and says, look, this is happening and I've been requested to do this, I don't have this information, I don't know how this works, what do I need to know, what do I need to do, what does the zoning say, what's the bylaw say, and there are a lot of issues that had to be addressed, okay? That's the end of that discussion, okay? Point, counterpoint.
I will say one thing, our meetings were about zoning and the zoning
Absolutely.
commission. And, it was
all relative to the
questions.
request to bring
It
you
didn't
in.
have anything to do with any individual
Yep.
outside of my being appointed zoning official.
Okay. So in the event that anybody watching here works for this town and has a problem, feel free to come see me. I'll spend as much time as you need me to. All right, now, having said all of that, let's do this. If we want to take a vote to have him, Mr. Cantel, come back in 2 weeks at the next meeting, the entire board will be able to ask questions about this, and we can go forward. But we will limit it to whatever Mr. Soto sends us as to all of the information that he wants, and not just make this a free-for-all. Because I'm not going to single out one employee for a performance review if we're not doing all the others. So that's the thing. This was a question from one member. If he's going to recuse himself, and this board wants to give Mr. Cantel an opportunity to ask questions and make his points, and you know what? I'm going to just say this. Is the board in agreement that they want to have him come back in 2 weeks and we can give him an opportunity to speak for himself?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Then we don't need a vote. I'll see to it that that's on the agenda. Watch this. Oh, Chris. Thank you very much. I apologize for, good job on the documentation, however. Okay. All right. You want to
He left.
He left?
He made it.
What?
He just told me he can come back.
He's coming back, or he's not?
I told him he can come back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not sure you paid attention.
All right. All right, you know what? I'm not gonna, there are things that we, here, yes, okay. I didn't know if you really know. Okay, next up on the agenda, I put this item on because I won't speak for other members, just speak for myself. I have been inundated with questions from people about, and this is no shock to Mr. Adams, he's sitting here, he's seen it, okay? About his qualifications to be on the board, in the belief that he has moved his residence out of state, and that it's thought by an awful lot of people in town that that could be a disqualifier. So I'm giving Mr. Adams an opportunity to address that because he was the subject of the question. Mr. Adams, you have the floor.
So, in a nutshell, and there's been no secrets. I mean, yes, my wife is the minister in Wolfboro, New Hampshire, and that's public knowledge. Back in May, there is, but however, I am still a legal resident in Brimfield, Mass. My residency hasn't changed. as I said earlier, Mr. Cantel felt that because there's a newspaper article that was in May with a picture of myself and my wife in front of the church about my wife's, calling, that, that we're looking for residency up there, and, which we are, because at the end of the day, my wife needs a place to live. Okay? So but that doesn't mean my residency is there. My residency is here in Brimfield. It's clear as day. Bill Cantel decided to notify the Board of Registrars. They had a meeting on Thursday. In that meeting, I sent a letter basically stating what I just told you, about the location in New Hampshire, my wife, which has nothing to do about my position here as selectman, right? And basically, I continue to be active in Brimfield as a requirement, as residency, right? I pay my registrations, my vehicle taxes are here, my 3 trailers are here, I'm a registered voter here, I do banking here, I'm on the Troop Scout Committee, for Troop 7 in town. I am involved with the Cub Scouts in town. This Saturday, I'm organizing a townwide cleanup. I don't know what more I need to do to prove that I'm resident. As a matter of fact, I don't need to prove that I'm resident. It's really simple. My driver's license is Brimfield, Massachusetts, and I'm a registered voter in Brimfield, Massachusetts. Basically where and how I live or spend my personal time has no bearing on what I do here as a selectman. That's my personal business, not yours. Okay? And then, so my point is, and I've done an awful lot for this town in my 3 years as select board. And just last week, I attended a Board of Health meeting, and I attended a Historic Commission meeting. Right? I continue to be active as a leader. Right? It doesn't matter, what you think. At the end of the day, legally, I'm a registered, voter and a resident here in town. And that's exactly what, the Board of Registrars has ruled on Thursday. Okay, that basically, upon review of the residents for voting purposes revised in 2017 by the Massachusetts Secretary of State office, which is attached to this letter, it's submitted to this office from Mr. Adams dated April 3rd, 2025, also attached. The Board of Registrars determined that there's no need to move to a hearing has not been satisfied. Now, for anybody that wants to know, the residents for voting purposes is the exact document that's in this packet here, okay, which is attached to KP Law with a case from Turl, Mass. In KP Law, this is from 23. In KP Law, basically, it's just regurgitating what is in this actual statement of residents for voting purposes, which was in our package last meeting. Okay? And it's very difficult, because the definition of residency in Massachusetts is very vague, and I think what Steve said earlier, it's dense. You really have to, what they really say in this document is that residency is unique to every individual. You can't just say one thing, that's it. Okay? And what I said at the last meeting is that the problem is that, as it was mentioned about, well, I don't pay property taxes. Well, my state and federal taxes is this residency, and my mass taxes that I file goes to Boston, and then those cherry sheets that we get, when that money comes back, is some of our tax money. Okay, so because I don't own property in this town, doesn't mean I don't have a right to sit as an elected official. Okay, that was ruled years ago, right? That's how we would suppress people. So from holding, powerful positions. I meet all the criteria and then some that's listed in this document.
I have one question.
Go.
The other one I have.
Can I ask a question?
No. Sorry, I'm not taking it from the floor. If I sent you a Christmas card, where would I send it?
Brimfield.
Brimfield?
You send it to my street. You send it 49 Dix Hill Road.
Well, I think that's one of the things people ask about.
It's 49 Dix Hill Road.
I'm sitting here with the opportunity to ask you the question, so.
And I'll address this issue, and it was in the complaint. Right, my wife is the minister of the First Congregational Church. Part of her employment package was the parsonage. In her exiting interview, which is private information, it's not public, but I'll share it. In her exiting interview, okay, part of that interview was allowing me to stay in the parsonage, until I feel that I finished my term here, or until they got a new minister. That new minister hasn't happened yet. That's still my address. I live there, I maintain the property, and a story.
Okay, that was answered. Excuse me, just a second, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to speak. I just wanna let you know, I'm not just shutting you down, I have told others, gave them the no, you can't speak thing, so I didn't want to, okay? That's all. Go
Well,
ahead.
no, I would just say that, you know, to one of George's points here, that he doesn't have to answer to anybody. We all got voted in by residents of Brimfield, so I hope that they get a chance to watch this, and they vote in who they want, that's all I'm
That's
saying.
absolutely.
I mean, I don't think that that was a really good comment, but.
Right, and I agree, I misspoke, and what I'm saying is that, you know, is that I'm giving a lot of personal information that isn't required to hold this position, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. Okay, that has been sufficiently explained at this point, so again, we still have a lot to get through, so I apologize, but Mr. Soto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to say, the last 3 years that I've sat next to this gentleman here, George Adams, there is no one on this board, combined all four before us, that do more than this gentleman does. He has partaken every single thing that in this department, in this community. From cleaning this community to making sure that dollars are well spent, and he questions every single thing. That's how you sort of maybe make enemies. But this is such a waste of time to do this for our community, and especially with the agenda that we have to put George through this or Stanley through this and question. There's no one, I'm telling you, I've been in politics and I've been elected for a long time. There's no one that I know that works harder than this guy right here. He works hard for every single person in this town, every single one of us. I've seen him take money from his own pocket to get water tested for an individual who had doubts. He did conspiracy theories that his water was being poisoned. So that's the kind of guy this guy is, and I've witnessed it myself. So
I don't think anybody disagrees that George is hardworking, he loves his community. I think, like Mr. Kelly, I have received letters from.
can we see them letters? I'd like to see those letters. Yeah.
What?
Yes, bring those letters.
Oh, I will, sir.
Love to see
When
them.
you show me your letters.
Bring them letters.
I'm speaking.
Yes.
And you interrupted me. I wasn't finished, but thank you.
Point of order.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, please be quiet. Mr. Soto, do you have anything else?
I'm all set, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Do you have anything else that you would like to say?
Yes, I agree. And I think George is an amazing person in this community. But when people come and the residents ask questions, that we have to address that. You know, I'm getting like, is it morally correct? Is it ethically correct? I'm not the judge of that. But we have to let the people know that we're thinking about this. I'm not going to judge George on where he goes or what he does on the weekend. That's not my job. My job is to work for the residents and have their concerns be heard.
And to add to that, just one small piece, we are duty bound when there are public questions of this magnitude to at least address it and say, hey, people are concerned with this, what's the story? He has addressed the story. Thank you for your input. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one.
Marty, can I speak on it, seeing as I've been called so many things about this?
Since you were what?
Since I've been brought up many times in this conversation, do I have a right to?
Yeah, you were mentioned, so.
First of all, based on that article, I did kind of determine that George Adams does not reside in Brimfield anymore, as in the article it states that him and his wife were both looking for a residence in New Hampshire. That was over a year ago.
Correct.
Now, he may have decided to stay in this town with his wife living in New Hampshire, and that's all well and good, but that's not what the article stated. I didn't ask for this to come to the select board meeting. I put in my complaint to the registers. They filed that they have no reason to go further at this time, and my response will be to appeal that if I decide to. Other than that, I've not done anything.
Okay.
So.
All right, fair enough.
Fair enough.
You were brought up, I've given you an opportunity
Thank you.
to address that, so thank you for that input. Now, I'm moving on. Okay. The next up, we have a public records request. This one is a little bit, different. The electrical inspector, hello?
Yes, sir.
Inspector, I hope that's not on.
Scott Mansfield.
Yes, thank you very much for that. Had requested a copy of a video of one of the meetings.
This video.
Yeah, And we don't have someone who runs the video camera and sends these meetings out live. We've been advertising forever to fill this job. We've changed the description as much as we could possibly do. We can't make people come in and do that. However, in the absence of them doing that, Mr. Adams has been taping these meetings, not uploading them, as I understood. You're not quite sure how to do that, right?
Working on it.
Okay. So that makes him the custodian of that record because, you know, the town's not recording it, he is. Town equipment should be part of the response. So my concern is, we also received another public records request having to do with multiple meeting tapes, okay? And as far as I can tell at this point, we have no way of complying with that unless they're handed over. And if a complaint goes to the state, we are bound by law to give this information. So we need to decide how it is we're going to satisfy these public requests. And before I open it to a discussion here, Mr. Mansfield is here, so I'm going to let you speak to that if you like. You don't feel like you have to.
Yeah, so there was an outrage at the last meeting I was at, and very rude one of the board members, and it didn't like it. I'm not going to mention any names, don't care, but it's on video. And at that time, I asked if the video is being used, and I was told by everybody, yes, it is. As I see it's being used today, so this meeting is being. So when I asked for my public records request, I asked for two things. I wanted a meeting minutes, so that I could see if they put on the minutes what the verbal attack was, and they weren't on the minutes, which I'm going to file a complaint and get that amended. So what was said was not put on the minutes, one. Number two, I got my minutes, but I didn't get the second one. I didn't get the camera footage. So I sent a nice letter back to the board, and I said, thank you for number one. I don't have the number two yet. So before I have to go to the district attorney's office and get it through them, have them come down to your office, because they'll figure out how to get the camera off there, I'm asking again for the request. That time, a couple days later, I got a message back from the person that holds the camera that, sorry, I don't know how to do that. I can't get it yet. Okay, so why are we recording if we don't know how to run the equipment, first of all?